All right. Hello, statisticians, mathematicians, and all other interested parties. Welcome to our Skew The Script speaker session with Kevin McSorley. Kevin has been a long time collaborator on our Desmos activities and has gone through multiple summers of creating new Desmos activities, remaking Desmos activities, and the stuff that you see on our site. He's had a lot to do with it. And he's an absolute guru. And he's a high school teacher currently at San Rafael High School in California. He teaches math, complet, engineering, and in his spare time, he somehow has the time to make all these insanely good animated Desmos activities. This session is somewhat of a follow-up to our last session with Dan Meyer, whereas Dan was talking at the high level of what ed tech can do. We're going to get into the brass tacks now of how to use these sorts of activities and how to make them your own. And it's not going to be so much like how to create your own from scratch, but how to take the stuff we have, adapt and use it, and a little bit of creation tips as well. So with that, I don't want to take too much more time. I'll go ahead and introduce Kevin. Thank you so much, Kevin. You can take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm really excited, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us. A lot of you just finished your teaching day, or you're trying to get dinner on the table or put the kids to bed. So it really means a lot to Dash and I that you're here. And you're taking the time to learn what we have to share. Again, my name's Kevin, and I work at San Rafael High School in the Bay Area. I've taught math for about 20 years or so. And during the pandemic, I started learning how to make my own Desmos activities. And through that experience, was able to connect with Dash and start making activities for Skew The Script. And so I'm going to show you, if you haven't used the Desmos before, if you're still unfamiliar or uncomfortable using a Desmos activity with your class, I'm going to show you how to do that. And hopefully you'll be inspired to use one with your classes soon. So you're going to go through and be like a student, and you're going to participate in the Desmos activity that we've created for you. That is some of our activities are Skew The Script activities that are edited together. All right, so we're going to put a link in the chat. Let me see. So can I add this, Dash? I think I can. Okay, so the link is in the chat right now. That's going to take you to a page. And if you already have a Desmos account, you could just click start the activity. If you don't have one, you'll be asked to create one. We use Google at our school, and if you're able to with Google, I would just say join with Google. And if your students can join with Google, that's the easiest way to make an account.
And if you don't feel comfortable making an account right now, you could also continue as a guest for now and just watch as Kevin shows you the back end on the teacher side.
And so I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. All right. And so right now the activity is paused, and I could see that we have about 30 people logged in. I'm going to unpause it, and as we wait for more people to come in, just go ahead and drag that red point that's located right above the US map, and just kind of show us where you're joining us from today. And you're going to be able to click, and then you'll be able to see everybody's response, and we'll get a good idea of our locations, just for fun. So I'm right here. Done. see.
Got a pretty good spread there. That's nice.
Yeah, so lots of folks from all over. All right, even some folks from outside the US. So I'm gonna paste to the next screen, and this will just show us what we're gonna learn today. We're gonna have time for you to experience what it's like to be a Desmos, complete a Desmos activity as a student. We're going to use the Desmos activity dashboard, and that's what you can see right now that I'm sharing. That's what teachers see. Assigning and sharing an activity with students. There's going to be some time for questions. And unfortunately, we're not going to have time for creating custom activities from scratch or using the Desmos calculator or learning about the computation layer, which is the code that Desmos activity creators use. That makes all the animations and the graphs happen. So just for fun, just one more kind of get to know you screen. I want to know, have you purchased Halloween candy yet? Either no, yes, or yes, and it's already gone. You're going to be able to click and see our results. And while you're doing that, sometimes there's images like this image of the bowl of candy, and they have this little expand icon. So maybe there's an image of a graph or a table of data. If you click on this little icon, if it's available, if it's set to be available, it makes it full screen. So you could do that if you're presenting to your class, or your students can also do that so they can see a little bit better. And then you could just exit out. If you're like me, yes, it's already gone. All right, most people.
We got some slackers.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Around here, they start putting the Halloween candy out like in August. I even saw some, I think, at the end of July this year, which is too early, in my opinion. So another thing in the dashboard that you can see, I have 38 right here. So that means 38 students are on this screen with me. And we can see 41 students total are in this activity. So why don't you go back to slide 2, and I want to show you some of these buttons right here. The pace, the sync to me, the pause button. I'm also going to put in anonymous mode. So most people are now back on slide 2, and maybe I want to point out something important to students on slide 3, and they are on slide 2, or they're just not caught up to where they should be. I'm going to click sync to me, and I'm on slide 3 right now. That's going to pull everybody to slide 3. So 3, 2, 1, sync to me. And now everybody's getting pulled to my slide, which is a really useful feature. Again, if there's something important you need to point out, if students are kind of getting lost and all over the place, it's really nice feature to have. You could also use pace. So I don't want to open up an activity for everybody and just have them blow through screens like 1 through 10 or 1 through 15. I want to be able to stop and talk about different slides, and use the snapshots that we're going to talk about in a little bit and further my class discussion. So I'm going to paste now from screen 1. So you could go back to screen 1, and we're going to go all the way up to screen 4. So I'm restricting it to screen 4, so everybody can navigate themselves between screens 1 and 4. So let's go ahead to screen 4, and that's our first actual Desmos slide that I'm going to show you. So on screen 4, you can see that there's this little GIF of a cat. this particular video was released in April 2011, and within like 2 or 3 weeks, it had over 1 million views. So there's not much for students to do on this slide, but it gets them thinking about this concept that they can understand. They understand a viral video. And so we present today's key analysis, and that's how do videos go viral. And you'll notice for me on my slide, I have teacher moves. Hopefully you can see it. It's down in the corner. I can click on this, and there's useful material that teachers can use during the lesson. So on this one, on our first slides, we usually have a link to the full lesson materials. So Skew the Script lessons are available as Desmos activities for the most part, as handouts and as slideshows. And there's also videos available. So they're all designed to be kind of standalone, but they can also be used to complement each other. If it were me teaching some of the lessons, I would like to have the Desmos that the students engage with, but then also like a handout for them to write down important things and take with them. It's kind of up to your own style of teaching, how you would like to present them. So next, let's go ahead and look at slide 5. And so you're going to be like a student, and on slide 5, I only have one screen, so I have to kind of click all over the place. On slide 5, you're going to be like a student, and you're going to drag the slider and see how the number of new views of the Nyan Cat video increased from day 0 to day 5. So I want you to do that, and I want you to fill in that table. You can check your work by clicking on the button once the table is filled in. And then I want you to write about the pattern that you see. And again, once you do that, I'll show you, we have some sample responses. I wouldn't show this right away to students, but us being teachers, I will. So there's sample responses. So it's basically an answer key for you, the teacher, to have during the lesson. This again. All right, so right now I'm in student view on my lesson. There you could see these 4 tabs. So there's student, teacher, summary, and snapshot. And we're going to learn how those all work. If I click on student view, I can see everybody's work. And I see lots of green check marks. That's great. That makes me really happy. And then also I can see the responses that people gave. And so I'm just going to click on some of these. As a teacher, I would kind of read through these as students are writing. And you can see that this side window came up. It's doubling. Okay. So what I can do now is I can click on present. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to go to my summary. And my summary is basically a grid for each slide. And you can see there's circles, there's dashes, there's check marks. There's also X's. Oh, good. So this one has an X right here. So that means this student didn't get the table correct. And I'm not calling this student out because you'll also notice that the names are names of famous mathematicians or historical mathematicians. So this is a really nice feature because students will feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts, sharing what they think. If they know they're not going to be, if their work's going to be presented and associated with them, they're more likely to take risks. So I have anonymous mode clicked right here. Me as the teacher, I can hover over the name and I can see who this person is. And it also says in your version of who you are. I forget what the student version says, but it says in the top left corner who you're acting as or who your mathematician is. So if I were to scroll through this, you would know. But I like anonymous mode. It lets students take more risks. And then snapshots, I can take snapshots of student work and then present it there. I don't use this tab very often. I usually do it through here. So I'm back on my teacher tab right now, and I selected some of the snapshots that I liked, and I'm gonna present those. And so here are just 4 responses that I picked. And this is a really, really powerful tool. This is where you get some great classroom discussion. So I could say, what does each response have in common? And so if I'm projecting this to my students or displaying this to my students, now they will be able to think about these responses. What makes a good response? What makes a response not as good as another response? What do they have in common? What are they all saying? And it's a really powerful way to get a great classroom discussion. And you're probably thinking like, well, when I'm doing that, what's to prevent a kid from clicking on different slides? So there's this pause button, which is really useful. And I've learned that if you just hit pause, that students will be like, hey, it paused. And they might be in the middle of a thought. They might get a little upset with you that the activity was paused. So I usually give them a warning, like, all right, students, I'm going to pause the activity. And I'm going to pause in 3, 2, 1, pause. And so now on your screen, you should see that the activity says activity pause. And so you can't navigate, you can't make any edits. It's a little bit grayed out. So you're kind of forced to look up at me, the teacher, who wants to give some instruction or have you think about a response.
A couple questions, Kevin, really quick that come in the chat.
Yeah.
The 4 you showed, did you pick them? And if so, how?
Yeah, so let me go back and show you. So if you're looking at my screen right now, my screen share, I'm on the teacher tab right now. And so it shows every student's work. So I could click here on the table, but and I might want to do that. If it's a table and not everybody in the class is getting the right answer, I might want to do that. I could click here on the graph, and all the student didn't really interact with the graph much more than dragging the slider. It was more of an animated graph for us in this situation. And then I'm going to click on just some responses, and I would read through these as students write them down. I might be looking for some key things or a common thing that I know students write that's incorrect. And once I have those, I usually do 4. 4 seems to work and fit nicely on a screen. I could go present snapshots, and now I can see that work. And I could say, like on this one, okay, students, you should have had this. And we wanted to see what we noticed. And here's the graphic of what students generated once they dragged the slider. And this student said views are doubling every day. And this person said that each day the number of new views increases by a multiple or a factor of 2. And I could ask, like, what do those have in common? Do they say the same thing? Is it saying the correct thing, but in 2 different ways? And I really like this feature to have some low stakes math discussion with my class. And I really find that that students are really open to giving their opinion, giving their thoughts when something like this is written on the board or displayed on the board.
And one other question that came in was,
Yeah.
is this snapshot feature part of the paid version of Desmos, or does this come free?
No, so oh, I forgot to mention that Dash and I are not Skew the Script and I are not associated with Desmos. We're just big Desmos fans. And there is a paid curriculum that you can purchase through Desmos. I've done the trial and it's excellent. And if your school has the funding, you might want to check it out. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of free Desmos activities that other teachers have created. All of the Desmos activities available from Skew the Script are free. I've heard that Desmos classroom activities, like the activity we're using now, will always be free. But Desmos, which is Desmos Classroom, which is owned by Amplify also makes a version of activities that you have to purchase. But any Desmos activity that you find, you should be able to use for free. And this feature is free. And all the features that I'm showing you today are free features available through all the Skew the Script activities that are available.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. Is it's all free, and it is very aligned to what we try and do by making all of our curriculum free. The way these Desmos came to be was a group of teachers in the pandemic said, hey, this Skew the Script stuff looks pretty cool. We want to do it with Desmos. And they made all this stuff. And it was this big community effort. And so now we've kind of formalized it with these given Desmos on every single lesson on the site. But everything that you see in front of you is going to be completely free to access.
And will it always be free, Dash?
Well, I'm not the CEO of Amplify, so we can.
Will the Skew the Script? Will the Skew the Script activities always be free?
Oh yes, the Skew the Script activities and handouts that we have, the slide decks, the videos, all curriculum materials will forever and always be free. This is a recording. Hold me to it. Guarantee you, it will always be free as long as you are a teacher at a K-12 school. And if you're at a college, if you're kind of an educator, it is free.
Yeah, it's really great. If you haven't scrolled through the activities, I really suggest it. There's some great stuff, and I'll show you soon how to access the activities. So let's move on and let's look at another slide. So after students kind of initially investigate and look for a pattern, they're going to formalize that. I'm going to go back to my teacher, my student tab. And so this is what students are seeing. And you're asked to write an exponential model for the scenario. So go ahead and do that and then click submit. And this graph animates, and this is one of my favorite kind of graphs. It animates and the points
Kevin, I think you're still paused.
Oh, that's one I always forget to unpause. And I start talking and then students say, you're still paused. So thanks for reminding me. So now we're not paused. Now you can move ahead to slide 6. And so you're asked to write the function that would match this pattern that we just recognized in the table on the last slide. So go ahead, write your function, and then when you click, you should see that the points kind of pop if you got it correct, and there's an X if it's incorrect. And I can see here, I'm on the summary page, and if you're looking at my screen, I can see that there's some students who haven't advanced to this yet, and there's some students who haven't gotten it wrong. And I know they haven't gotten it wrong because there's not an X. And this slide can only give an X or a dot. And that's because there's also a component where students have to give a free response that just can't be graded by the Desmos activity. The function can be checked. And so if the function's incorrect, there's going to be an X. Does somebody want to volunteer to write the incorrect function in there? And I'll try to show it in the dashboard. Maybe you wrote y equals x times 2 instead of x squared. Well, I don't see one, but so you can see here, this is an X. That means a student got something wrong in this one. Right. So some activities, some slides only have right and wrong type answers. And so I'm looking at the Halloween candy slide, and I set it to be correct if you answered it. So if you answered yes, I bought candy, no, I haven't bought candy, or yes, and it's gone, then it marked it correct. And so when there's slides that only have a correct or incorrect answer, it will show a check. When there's free response, or when there's free response with a correct or incorrect answer, there can only be an X or a circle. The X appears when the correct or incorrect response was incorrect. A circle appears when that incorrect or correct is correct, and there's some more response that they have to enter. So I can see here, like, this student wrote y equals 2 to the x. By looking at the data, I could tell we are dealing with an exponential function. Then it was a matter of determining the base.
A very precocious student.
Yeah. So you can look through here, and you could look for responses that you want to show. This kind of keeps students on track, I guess, if they know that you can see their work. We could see all the different types of graphs that students are entering in there. And I really like how it animates and shows students if they're correct, and not just correct, like how correct are they? That's one powerful thing that Dan talked about last week. If you're able to join, Desmos can be set up in a way so students don't see just like yes or no, right or wrong. They can see how correct they are or how incorrect they are, and what they need to do to make their answers more correct. So let's move on. And the next slide, well, these 3 slides we looked at were from our algebra series. This next one is one of the first slides in our AP statistics. And so
let me quickly kind of make a quick note that
sure.
I'm going to put the link to the lesson that we just went through, like a little snippet of it, in the chat. And just know that's like a small snippet of a larger lesson that comes with a full package of a handout, slide deck, video, etc. And in that lesson, you go from making these exponential models of the viral videos to actually looking at the viral video's number of views, the Neon Cats video's number of views, fitting an exponential model to that data, and seeing that it's quite a good model. So you get the full kind of circle picture of, hey, these models are very useful in real life for modeling viral videos. There's another version lesson that models the spread of actual viruses. And so I'll put the link to the chat here, or put the link to the lesson in the chat. And you'll see that in that lesson page, there's a link to the Desmos activity itself. If you want to check out the full thing.
Yeah, most of our activities are about 10 to 15 slides long, which I from experience, I feel that's a good length of an activity. If they get much longer than that, it's hard for students to focus. So yeah, this is another, this is one of our AP statistics activities. And again, it's just a snippet. This is about during the pandemic when the NBA was in the bubble, and all the NBA players went to Walt Disney World, and they all stayed unexposed from the outside world so they can complete their season. And so students might not be sports fans. They might not know about basketball. They might not know what the term home court advantage means. So they're allowed to, or encouraged to explore that idea by taking the slider and moving it and come up with their own idea of what home court advantage means before moving on. And the goal of this, or the key analysis for this activity, is to determine, was there a home court advantage during the NBA bubble?
And just to add some more setup to this, it's kind of crazy because they're all playing on the same exact court in the same bubble at Disney World, and they randomly assigned who was home and who was away, and the home team won 56% of the games. So the question is, was there somehow a home court advantage even though they weren't at home? And that's the key question of the lesson, and it proceeds from there.
So we look at that 56%, and we want to know is that statistically significant. And so moving on to slide 8, the next slide, you can follow along with me. Oh, there we go. So this allows students to simulate their own season. So they're going to click on the button, and I want you to do this right now. You're going to click on the button to simulate a new season, and that number is going to show you the number of home team wins. So you're going to enter 40 divided by 88, because there's 88 games in a season, and that's going to give you a proportion. And so I think in the actual activity, students each do this 10 times. I just have it set for us to do 4 times. So if you would simulate 4 seasons right now to get some data, that would be fantastic. And then we're going to move on, and we're going to aggregate that data. And so between all of us, we should be able to collect about 160 seasons of data. As a statistics teacher, I always loved having students collect data. And sometimes that took a lot of time, like rolling dice or flipping coins or whatever the activity was. And it was kind of tedious. And if students didn't stay focused, it kind of lost its meaning. And what I love about about Desmos and statistics is that Desmos allows you to aggregate data. So take a whole class of data and put that into one slide. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to be able to see all of the data for the whole class. And so we can see that there's this dot plot here. You can click on the individual points and see what they are. So there were 10 seasons that the home team won 45.45%. There were 9 seasons that the team won 54%, 54.6% or so. And if you've taught AP statistics, you know that interpretation is huge. So everybody has a purple point, and you're asked to interpret that point in context. So again, this is all the data that we just collected. And we could see that mound shape that statistics teachers love so much. This is looking pretty good. We could have collected more and more data, but it kind of loses its appeal to students, I found. And if you collect too much data. So this helps students kind of visualize and see what the next simulation is going to do. And so again, you could see at the bottom of my screen, I just clicked on a sample response, and students should say, in this simulated season, home teams won whatever the percentage is. And in my case, it would be 53% of the time. Hopefully they're writing something like that. And if they are, they're probably on their way to earning a 5 on the AP exam. So moving on to the next slide, this is gonna let us generate 1,000 seasons. So we can click And so now this is 1,000 seasons, and this shows us the home team winning percentage for all of those seasons. And we want to know like what we observed in the NBA bubble. There were 56% of the home team won 56% of the time. And it would be way too tedious to actually count these. So there's this little counter here that helps us count the number of home team wins above 56%. So on my simulation, it's about 109. Yours might be a little bit different because every student is generated randomly. And so students are asked to write what proportion of the 10,000, of the 1,000 simulated seasons were above a 56% home team win. So I would type in 109 divided by 1,000, and they're asked to write if they're convinced or not convinced. So this is a really great way to kind of lead up to the formal way to analyze and to make a conclusion about a hypothesis test. So we're going to do just one more slide, and then I'm going to show you how to create your own classroom and to make your own Desmos activities for your class. Some of the slides are, one more thing. I'll do that on the next one. So this is called a card sort. So there's a lot of cards, and they need to be matched together. And I've gone back and forth whether or not to show students whether or not their matches are correct. So in this activity, there's not a way for the student to know unless the teacher tells them. There is a way, and maybe I can talk with Dash about adding that at a later time, but I'm going to show you how to check whether a card sort is correct. So let's sort these cards, and then I'm going to look at the dashboard. And so I'm in the teacher screen right now, and it shows everybody's cards. And I'm going to click on this button that says show correctness. And now I can see the student acting as Su Young Alice Chang right here has gotten all the cards correct because they're all blue. But then I could see that Albert Frank Cox has some incorrect cards because these cards are orange. So that's one way to show students whether or not they're correct. If you have a class that's bigger than about 20 students or so, 25 students, it's hard to show everybody's at the same time. And also, if you don't want to show the student's actual name, they're going to have to look for their person, their mathematician up there. So there is a way to write some CL, some computation layer, to help show the students. But for me personally, when I don't want students just matching cards to see if they're correct. I want them to really think about whether or not they're correct and not just get the correct answer. So there's another feature that you can use if there's a slide, maybe you're running out of time, or maybe you're just not ready to teach a certain topic, or you just don't like a slide. You can hide a slide from a class during an activity. So we just have one more, and I'm going to show you right now. If I click on my dashboard on the vertical dots, I have the choice to hide a screen. And so that means that as we go through an activity, that slide's not going to be visible to students. I can increase the pacing to the next slide, to the next slide, and the next slide, and students will just automatically jump over that slide and not even know it's there. And you can unhide it as well. So I hope that showed you some of the features of the dashboard. I'm going to show you how to set up an activity on your own. But if you have any questions at this time, please type them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them.
One question that came up is for the computation layer, the CL, the stuff that makes all this animate and happen. What's the best way to learn that? And I actually had the same question because like I did a data science program. I know Python, I know R. I've tried to learn CL and Desmos, and for me, it's so hard. Like the documentation is really not there. That shows you that we're not paid by Desmos. The documentation sucks. And so how did you learn it, and what's your advice for learning it?
Okay, so I have some experience teaching computer science. So a little bit of a computer programming background, but I'm not, I'm not a professional coder or anything like that. And I learned by taking activities, because you can copy any activity that you find. You can copy it and make it your own. And you can see the computation layer when you do that. And I took activities that I liked and I basically reverse engineered what they did and just kind of got in there and got my hands dirty and taught myself. And I really enjoy doing it. And it's like a challenge, a puzzle. It's creative. So I like doing it. But I would suggest just finding an activity you like and pick it apart. And if you find a Desmos a Skew the Script Desmos activity that you like, and you make a copy of it and you look at the computation layer, I would be happy to give you some pointers if you're confused. I'm not sure how we could set that up, but I'm happy to help people out. I love this. I love Desmos. It's really, I can't say enough good things about it. It's really changed my teaching and really helped generate awesome engagement by my students, really great conversations about math with my students. Any other questions in the chat, Dash?
There's kind of a double stamp of, so even if we poke around and play with the activities and play with the CL, if we're still having challenges, like really going all in, are there any like static resources that people can turn to?
There are quite a few at the Desmos available through Desmos. But I don't have all of those links available. Maybe it's something that we could kind of Dash and I would have to talk about this, but maybe it's something that we can direct you to from the Skew the Script site.
Yeah, if Kevin, after this, if at some point you want to send me like a bunch of links that you found helpful, I can send those out via email to all the participants.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so if you so you need to have a Desmos account, and then also a separate teacher account. So I'm going to share I'm going to go to, I'm just going to get out of here and I'm going to type in desmos.com. All right. And if you do that, you're going to see this page. All right. And to set up your own classroom, you're going to go into Teacher Home and you're going to click. If you don't have a teacher account, you're going to be asked to make a new account. I would just give it your same name, use your same email address, same password, just so when you log into that Desmos, it's just all the same. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so if you're using one of the Skew the Script activities to set up an activity with your class, let's go to skewthescript.com. I'm going to go to some lessons. I'm gonna go to that. What am I, statistics? No, it's gonna go to that cat lesson that we just did. So the exponential growth. We actually have 2 versions, and we did version B. So if I really like that, and hey, I'm going to be teaching this next week, I'm going to go to that lesson in the Skew The Script website. You can see that there's all of these different formats for this lessons. There's handouts, there's answer keys, there's PDFs, there's Word docs, there's PowerPoints, there's standard alignments, there's videos. And then here's the link to the Desmos. So I'm going to click on that. And this is what it looks like for everybody. Yeah, okay. So if I want to assign this to my class, I can do that. I don't need to make a copy of this. I don't need to have my own version. I could just assign this directly to my class. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to navigate your own Desmos a little bit more in just a second. But so I'm going to assign to a class, and I have classes set up. I teach in the Academy of Engineering, so that's what AET stands for. I also have computer literacy classes, and so I could assign my Desmos to any of these classes. All right, so I'm going to click on, just say AET 9 and assign. And you'll see that this link to the dashboard comes up. And now I'm going to click on that. And this is exactly what you'll see as the teacher. Now, how do you share this with your students? What do you do? First, I recommend starting your pacing and just restrict it to screen 1. So students don't find the link somehow in your student information system and start doing this. I also recommend pausing it until you're ready for students to start it. So then there's a student link. So you click up here where the title of the lesson is, and you go share student link. And a link is generated. You copy that and you put that wherever you share your information with students. We use Canvas at our school, so I would put this in my Canvas page. Desmos is set up really nicely to work with Google Classrooms. Unfortunately, we don't use Google Classrooms here, but I've heard that that's a really nice way to share with students. How are we doing, Dash? Any questions right now?
No. I'd say keep it going. It might also be nice to look at, when you make a copy of this lesson, how you could edit it and poke around the CL and also edit certain wordings and things like that.
Sure. So before we do that, though, I want to show how to set up a class. So up here, always just go to home up here. These are all free activities from Desmos Classroom. You can make collections, and you can see that I have a lot of collections. And let's see, I just made math for physics of the universe. We're trying to support our science students with a little bit of math. And so I just found a bunch of activities, and I made this this collection. So it's all collections that I liked, and I have subsections for, like, so plotting points, graphing motion. And now I could share this with other teachers. I could be working with a group of teachers, and we know that, hey, we can all pull from here and use these. I can also go to classes right here, and it's really easy to do. You just go to new class. You can see there's an import from Google Classroom, which I don't have, unfortunately. I'm going to call this class Skew the Script. And I hit add class. I don't really even need to do anything with this. If I'm providing a link that I set up for this class, when the students log in to Desmos, they're going to be automatically added to this class. And again, I mentioned earlier, if you have the ability to log in through Google at your school, that's the best way, because then the kids' names are going to be correct. They're all going to be, capitalized and spelled correctly. They're not going to write something that's inappropriate or, a nickname or anything like that. But you can click, then you could see I have some students right here. I'm not going to click. I don't want to show names, but I can click here and I could see all the students in my classes. If you want to edit a class, that's also a possibility. So I'm going to go back to this lesson, to the Desmos link. And so I have it assigned to a class, but maybe I want to make some edits. I have a good idea. I want students to answer a different question or something like that. So I'm going to copy and edit. So up at the vertical dots up here in the corner, copy and edit. And it's given the name copy of Algebra 1-2, lesson 5.1. I can edit this so it doesn't say copy of. I'm just going to call it my Algebra 1-2. Yeah, let's save this. So I'm going to save this. And so now this is one of my activities. I'm free to delete slides. I'm free to make changes. I'm free to add slides. So I don't know, you guys want to see some CL? I don't know what I have here. I haven't looked at this CL. So anything with a green circle with the HTML tags, that means they're CL. So you can see that this is what drives that animation. It gets the time since the button was pushed and uses that to make the graph animate. And then it also gets the function that the student wrote and uses that function to graph. This checks the correctness. So you can see there's an explain prompt. If the student got it incorrect, it gives them a check. If it's incorrect, it gives them an X and tells them what they should do. It gives them a little hint like, hey, remember it's in the form y equals a times b to the x. If I wanted to add a slide, I would click plus, and I can move the order of slides. These are all the different types of components. So if I just want to write instructions, I would type in notes. This is a note to students. If I want a free response, I click that. I can have it show other students' responses to the other students, or I can unclick that so the students can't see it. There's multiple choice. There's tables. There's a graph. And these are full screen. So if I just wanted students to graph, or I just wanted to make a card sort, I could do that.
So very quickly,
yeah,
we got 4 minutes left.
Okay.
By the way, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Very quickly, first off, let me offer in the chat, if you want any last questions, please put them in the chat so we can rapid fire them here at the end. One question that I got sent privately that I want to voice up. If you go into one of these pre-built screens that have all this fancy stuff and you want to edit, say, some wording or some things here and there, but you don't want to mess it up, what are the types of boxes that I can feel free to edit, and what are the boxes that I should stay away from?
So anything with that's a note component. So anything like if I wanted this to be bold or whatever, if I wanted to change the format, you could change this and not mess it up. But also, if you messed up an activity that you copied, you can go back and just recopy it straight from the Skew the Script website. So I recommend if you really feel uncomfortable, just change any of the text. Don't change many of the other things. And once you feel comfortable with that, maybe if you want to add a table or edit a table, try doing that. You could, let's see, you could click on a graph if you wanted to. And if you like, hey, maybe I don't like red. I don't like blue very much. I like red. You could change the color of a graph just by clicking on the graph icon and holding down and change the colors pretty easily if you wanted to. But if you mess up the graph commands, it won't work correctly. If you mess it up and you're like, oh no, I don't know what I did, you can always go back right here and backspace, and it will go to your previous what you previously had.
Amazing. And then there was one other question. Does the CL use LaTeX? I think that's yes, right? CL is like based in LaTeX.
So there is some LaTeX, but not all LaTeX. I can show a quick example of that. Let me
actually, I think there's another one here. I want to make sure everyone gets out on time too. Okay. So I think if you use LaTeX and you know LaTeX, feel free to write LaTeX, and most of it renders, some of it won't. But that Desmos has some documentation about that, I believe.
Yeah.
And the last question is, beyond Skew The Script activities, like how do you search for activities in the general Desmos search engine? Which I agree with the person who said this, is that sometimes it can be kind of lacking. It's like hard to find good activities sometimes.
I don't look for activities through the Desmos search engine. I search by going to Google and typing Desmos exponential functions or Desmos classroom activity exponential functions and look from there. And you'll if you do that enough, you start to recognize authors of activities, creators of activities who are really good. So if I saw one like, oh, this was by Kurt Salisbury, I would know that that's probably good and I want to use that one. So I just search directly through Google by typing Desmos classroom activity and then the topic.
Wonderful. Amazing. Well, that brings us to the end of the hour mark. And I'm gonna go ahead and drop into the chat our feedback form. If you could, before you head out, quickly fill out that form just to help us get a sense of what you took away today, and then also feedback for next time to make these sessions even better going forward. We really appreciate it. A huge thank you to Kevin for being here and for presenting to us, and also for creating a lot of the activities you'll see on the Skew The Script website. The Desmos activities on the site are really a community effort, started during the pandemic, and we keep on refining along the way, and Kevin has had a big hand in all that, as well as many other contributors. So thank you to all the Desmos authors out there. And then thank you all for being here late in the evening on a Thursday night during a September teaching week. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to learn and be with us. So we really appreciate it.